Here we are. I'm Stephen Carlson. This is Working from the Heart. And the phrase we're working today is, I shouldn't have to work. So notice this phrase contains the most useless word in the English language, should. Why is should useless? Well, because it means automatically that it's not that way. And because it sets up struggle. It isn't that way, but it should be, but it's not. So, the other thing that I shouldn't have to work does is sets up victimhood. Of course, because I'm the one struggling against a cruel and heartless world that is forcing me into something I don't want to do, which is work. And the antidote for all of this, I think, really is to understand what work is. And my offer to you is that work is simply how we engage with the world. Whether we are paid or not, whether this is recognized or not, each and every one of us does work in some way or another. So, we're going to explore all this with the Sedona method. If you aren't already in a good place where you can be uninterrupted, then pause the video if you can. And when you're ready, take a breath and just allow yourself to be and allow things to settle. And so, the phrase, I shouldn't have to work. I shouldn't have to work. Allow that phrase to stir up whatever it stirs up. Allow it to feel as true as it seems to feel. I shouldn't have to work. Notice what comes up. Notice any kinds of feelings that arise. And what are those feelings? They can be just sensations in the body. They can also be images, sounds, moving pictures, or just thoughts. So just notice what all comes up. I shouldn't have to work. You shouldn't have to work. And notice that pushing of should, the pushing against reality. When you're ready, check for any desire to make that different, any feeling of resistance. Any wanting to let this go? Any wanting to hold on to it, figure it out? Just let that be here. Notice also how personal it feels. Good. I shouldn't have to work. Let's play with the opposite. I have to work. Notice the weight that comes from that. I have to work. Actually, that's not the opposite of I shouldn't have to work. That's actually the implication of it. This phrase is a formula for slavery because if you shouldn't have to work, that implies that somebody is compelling you to work. I have to work. And notice the heaviness of this. Notice, I have to. And notice what comes up. Isn't this unfair? Is there any anger, resentment? Any memories? Who is it standing over you, insisting that you work? Whatever comes up, let this be here. Pay attention. I shouldn't have to work. I have to work. Notice how automatically that kicks up resistance. If I have to work, of course I don't want to. So can you allow the not wanting to be here? Allow it to be as strong as it seems to be. I don't want to. Now, could you just drop that resistance? Would you? When? Good. Now, so notice that when you drop the resistance, it doesn't mean that now you have no other choice. If you drop the resistance to I have to work, that doesn't mean that now you have no other choice but working. It just means that there's less struggle around work. So, let's go back to the beginning again and see. I shouldn't have to work. Now check and see if that has the same charge as it did when we started. Chances are it might have shifted just a little bit. I shouldn't have to work. Notice how it feels. Notice also how this sets up a victimhood relationship. Suddenly, I shouldn't have to work. This means I'm being wronged. Now I am the victim of the world, being forced, unfairly exploited. Notice what that means. If I'm the victim, if I'm being wronged, don't I deserve better? And doesn't this justify anything in order to correct the imbalance, the injustice of the situation? So if I'm the victim, doesn't that mean that right is on my side? Doesn't that actually, in some way, put me in a position of power, in my powerlessness? I shouldn't have to work. Can you allow that to feel as true as it seems to feel? And notice what comes up, the indignation. The self-righteousness. I shouldn't have to work. And then check and see. Is it possible that you might even be judging yourself for feeling this way? Because you shouldn't. Or maybe you should. ... Notice if there's any sense of judgment that comes up around all of this. And just welcome that. And then notice also how personal all of this feels. Now allow that to be here as well. Just notice the nuance. Notice how it shows up. And then check and see if this shows up in the body somewhere. If there's any kind of disturbance, any kind of heaviness, constriction. Notice what comes up in the body in response to, I shouldn't have to work. And just focus on that. Turn the focus entirely to what's happening in the body. Because you know I shouldn't have to work. Breathe into that. Allow that. Give it permission. And then when you're ready, what if What if what was happening in the body was simply sensation, or if you will, energy passing through the body? What if it has no connection to anything else? And anything else, any descriptions or associations or explanation, is simply made up. Just as best you can, could you open yourself to that possibility that this is simply raw energy in the body? It doesn't need to mean anything. Could you just open yourself to that? And then, when you're ready, could you just give that energy in the body permission to do whatever it needs to do, whatever it wants to do? Not forever, but just for now. And notice how that feels to give that permission. And then notice that which is not sensation. Notice the absence. Notice what lies beyond all sensation, what surrounds, interpenetrates. Notice that upon which all sensation appears. And just as best you can, rest as that for a moment. Just as best you can. And then check back in the body once again. Notice. Are things the same as when we started? Have things shifted? Are they shifting now? So now let's just take one final shift, if possible. We start with the phrase, I shouldn't have to work. What if you could completely turn this around? What if you could simply feel gratitude, grateful? Even if you don't like your job, or if there's a lot of things that you don't like about it, or your work, or your business, or your career, think of the one thing, maybe there's more than one thing, but think of one thing that you really do enjoy, that one person, that one situation, that one function, whatever it is. Focus on that little detail, even if it's the smallest detail. I work in a grocery store. I like watching the kids goofing off and doing things. That entertains me. Little thing. Whatever it is, just welcome gratitude. And to see if it's possible, if you can open yourself to gratitude for your work, your job, whatever it is, that little tiny thing that you focus on that actually can be enjoyable. And allow that to grow in your awareness just for now. I am grateful. So that seems like a good place to stop. Stretch. So, again, we're going through various different phrases or mind viruses that simply reduce our enjoyment, our pleasure, our flow. Life, work, does not have to be a burden. I shouldn't have to work. Really, isn't it possible that even within a job I don't like, there might be one little thing that gives me joy? Remember, happiness can often be as simple as a change of focus. So, that's it for now. Until next time.